He has advised approximately 1,000 clients on business issues ranging from startup to shutdown. He also consults with the members of the incubator and innovation park. Mr. Workman has more than 20 years of experience in owning small business, and with his wife, Carla, currently operates at Workman Properties and a long-term care insurance advisor in Tallahassee. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Chris Workman.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm not going to use the microphone because I don't want to feel like I'm yelling at you. But if anybody has trouble hearing me, just let me know. Yeah, first off, could I see a show of hands, those of you that currently own businesses? Okay, approximately half. Those of you that don't own businesses but are interested in starting one, is there anybody in the audience who is going to be starting outside the state of Florida? Okay, nobody. Good. I mention that because businesses are established under state law, and believe it or not, the laws are different in Georgia, in Alabama, and Louisiana, whatever. So we're going to be focusing on starting a Florida business this morning, and I'll be glad to take you through this material and then answer whatever questions you might have on how you go about doing it. All right. First off, I want to let you know that there are a number of people out there who can help you start a business. I'm with a small business development center, in my case affiliated with Florida A&M University, one of 35 such centers throughout the state of Florida. And about 1,000 across the United States, typically affiliated with educational institutions, funded in part by the Small Business Administration. So we provide assistance, typically at no cost. You know, they say that advice is worth what you pay for it. So. Also, SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, does have a small chapter here in Tallahassee. You can utilize SCORE for business counseling, either locally or electronically, because they have a lot of email counselors. Incubators. Tallahassee has several business incubators. I'm affiliated with the Innovation Park Business Incubator, which currently has about 7 companies involved in it, engaged in various forms of technology. For example, we have a green energy provider, we have a drug developer, we have several medical researchers, we have some IT firms, those kinds of things that we're helping get launched. Technology transfer programs, if you are affiliated with the universities here in town, that's good news. The bad news is, if you develop anything, the university automatically owns a piece of it. But they will help you commercialize it. And we actually have a client in our incubator who's there because he is distancing himself from one of the universities. So he doesn't have a concern with the intellectual property that he's currently developing being co-owned by the university, not using university time, facilities, or any of those things. We also have a local professional community, typically comprised of attorneys, accountants, psychiatrists if you need them, whomever. You can certainly turn to them. Good luck getting that done pro bono, but they're available and can be valuable assistance in starting the business. Now, typically the clients I work with come to me and they're very confused. One of 2 things has happened. Either they have no idea what they're doing, they're a clean slate, and for some reason they seem to believe that starting their own business is as easy as working for somebody else. Not the case. Or it's the client who's accumulated and soaked up so much data that they absolutely are paralyzed now. And they can't move. They can't convert that data into information. And without a conversion into information, they don't know what to do. So, some of my peers will sit them down and say, write me a 50-page business plan. I've started 3 businesses now. I've never once written a business plan for any of them, so I'm not a strong proponent. That's the only way to go. It is the way to go in certain situations. Instead, I'll ask them to do a feasibility plan, which is a 4-page document. And it begins by, what is your idea? Simply stated in a way that people can read and say, I understand what it is you're going to sell. Second, Is there a market for this thing? You may have an idea. That doesn't mean it's a business. The difference is having a market. If you don't have a market, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And hobbies are fun. Just don't expect to make any money from it. So when we talk about markets, I like to get a little quantifiable here. And first off, I want to know what's the size of this market, and is it big enough for me to make enough money in it to stay interested? So if there's 3 people in Tallahassee interested in this, I'm not interested in setting up a business. Let me give you an example. My wife owns an insurance agency. She sells one product only, long-term care insurance. Very specialized product, typically sold to women. Why? Because in a relationship, men die first. Simple fact. We win. Leaving the wife with whatever problem she may have and with less assets to address them. So women are interested in security. Women principally buy this product. Her target market is defined as women in the Tallahassee area between the ages of 45 and 65 with a family net worth of between $150,000 and $1.5 million. Okay? Now, having defined that market, it's much easier for her to do what needs to be done next. She can go to those people and say, what do you want in a product like mine? Simple fact, it is much easier to sell something when you're selling something that people want to buy. It also helps in analyzing the competition. She can figure out how she's meeting the customer wants in this target market as opposed to other suppliers in this community. For example, one of the ways she competes, there are many people in this community who sell this type of insurance, but they sell 1 or 2 policies per year. She's ranked in the top 50 agents in the United States. So she's very focused and very specialized. And then once she figures how she stacks up relative to the competition, she knows how to promote her business too. For example, you won't see her ads on the local country music station. The guys driving pickup trucks do not buy this product. You will see her ads in Tallahassee Women's Magazine, Tallahassee Magazine, and others where it is focused, hopefully, to be noticed by the people she is hoping to convert into customers. Now, having determined that I have a market, and keep in mind that the way this process works is if I fall out in any one of these, if I don't have a market, for example, I don't need the 3rd step. Third step is barrier analysis. Anything that stops me from doing what I want to do to get the doors open. I've got to deal with those issues, whatever they happen to be. Regulatory issues, zoning changes. But the key, #1 issue that I hear most often is money. So I'm going to spend some time on money. Then the last thing, assuming that again, it still looks pretty good, I need some actions. Some things that are going to get the doors open. So whatever that is, I need to have a plan. Now that's about a 4-page document, as opposed to a 50-page business plan. But that last one of the actions might be to write a business plan. So can we go to the next screen? Okay. This is the most common barrier that I deal with, how to get money. And in the current economic environment, it's more difficult than it used to be. It was never easy. So here's what I advise my clients. The very first thing is, you need to re-examine your business needs. Man came in one day, was interested in starting a business. I said, how much money do you need? He said, $100,000. And I said, for what? He said, well then, $80,000. And I said, for what? He said, well, how about $60,000? And I said, what are we doing here? He says, we're negotiating. I said, no, we're not. Because #1, I don't loan money. And #2, when a banker asks you how much money, they would like to hear $68,234.12, because that indicates you put some time and analysis into that number. So the first thing we do is re-examine your business needs, because if you need $100,000, the barrier may be this high. $50,000, the barrier is this high. And if we can knock that barrier down, chances are you're going into business easier. So we begin to look at alternatives after we figured out our needs. Can we lease equipment rather than buy it? Typically we can. Can we utilize used equipment? Most of my restaurants start with used equipment. Or can we get the landlord to build out the space so we don't have to come up with $30,000 for leasehold improvement? And I recently had a client, landlord gave her $28,000 site improvement allowance. And so she didn't have to come up with $28,000 to get the doors open. With the current state of lease space in the Tallahassee area, we are getting concessions from landlords on a regular basis. They might be 3 months free rent, they might be build out, whatever it is. You know, one of the things I teach in my financing course is money is money. Don't care how you get it, if it helps you do what you want to do, it's useful. And then last bullet point was something I had to learn. Identify the best source for getting your money. You don't have to go get it all in one place. For example, if I need a truck this afternoon, what's the fastest, easiest, and quickest way to get it? From a guy who sells trucks. And if I go to the Toyota dealer, you know what the finance rate is? 1.8%. Try getting that at your local bank. Next screen. Now, 3 times a day I get a phone call asking me about all these grants that the guy on TV advertises. Well, he seems to be making money, but nobody else is. I rarely see them. I might see them once a year. And the most common grant here in Tallahassee is being given out by Innovation Park. They give 3 $15,000 grants out per year. However, I mentioned we have 35 offices through the state of Florida, and their experience is the same as mine. Less than 1% of their business is financed in any grants. However, here's a couple of programs that I have used. SBIR is a U.S. government program. If you invent something that the U.S. government is interested in, there are grants available to support the development and conceptualization of those types of typically new inventions. So, for example, if you have figured out a way to look inside those containers that arrive at U.S. ports for hazardous chemicals and materials, call me. I want to talk to you about that in this program. I also was successful in helping a gentleman get what's called a wired grant. I helped him get a $100,000 wired grant. His situation was he had a 14-year-old business engaged in IT, number of employees. He wanted to expand that business. He made a commitment to add employees and to pay them a certain wage level, much higher than minimum wage. He got a $100,000 grant. One of the requirements was he had to match it with $100,000 of his own money. If he did not hire the required number of employees, he had to give the money back. Fortunately, he did meet the requirement. Now, economic incentives, if you can convince government that whatever business you're going to found will produce jobs in the area, then you might be able to convince government to put some money into starting your business. Anybody ever heard of TurboCore? That's the TurboCore story. TurboCore has been extremely successful, but it took $6 million worth of economic incentives to bring in Tallahassee. Now, if I were going to start a business in Oxford, Florida, from Oxford, well, let me just say there's not a whole lot going on in Oxford. And typically outside of Tallahassee, if you want to create jobs in the outlying communities, you know how you do that? You build a prison. Look at any one of the communities outside of Tallahassee, and they are major employers. So if I were going to set up a private business in Oxford and I thought I was going to hire some local folks, you better believe I'd be talking to those guys at Oxford about it. And I'd be asking them if there was anything they could do to help me get off the ground. Now, they might offer me some tax incentives, and that's good, as long as I'm paying taxes. If I'm not, I will tell. They would offer to train my employees. That's very typical, and that's useful. So I'd take them up on that. They might even offer what I call the Walmart plan, which is low-cost financing. It works like this. Walmart used to be famous for this. Walmart was going to put a super Walmart in your community. they would come to you and they would say, we need